right, folks, we're going to go ahead and get started in just a second now. We really appreciate y'all coming online for this very important conversation. We're going to keep this very brief today. This is by no means a sales presentation. We are here just purely to inform and give some very important timeline and idea questions around the expiration of Windows 7 and Windows 2008, and try to help our customers out. There is a lot that you have going on. I get it that there is just 4,000 things in your life that are going on, and there's just too much to keep up with. Well, when it comes to computers and the security and all that kind of stuff around them, that's our job. So that's what we're here for, is to keep you safe, keep you secure, and help you with all of these little basic things. So my name is Henry Overton. I think we've met everybody that's online. I'm pretty sure, unless somebody's shadowing a conversation or online with somebody else. I think looking at all the guests that are online, I think I know y'all all, and I really appreciate y'all taking the time. We're going to leave a few minutes on at the end of the conversation to make sure that y'all have opportunity to ask some questions and get your answers. So online with us today is John Overton. He is our Chief Financial Officer, and he's got some very important things to go through in terms of how Windows 7 and Windows 2008 expiration, those end-of-life issues, are relevant from a financial and a business and a risk perspective. And also Richard Fry. Y'all shout out and say hi. Richard and John, so everybody can hear you.
Hey, Henry. Hello.
Awesome. Very good. Okay, audio is working. And Richard is our inside account manager. Now, on a day-to-day basis, what he does is find the best solutions and the best prices, and is constantly fighting with vendors and suppliers for the best possible prices on things, and trying to find ways for us to get the right solutions to customers at the lowest possible price. So I felt like he was a very good addition to this conversation, because he can kind of speak to the financial costs around this issue. So some of the things that we wanted to basically talk about and make sure that everybody can that we can cover real quickly is the primary issue around Windows 7 and Windows 2008. In case you hadn't quite caught up on that, the insurance issues and financial issues around it, and a few simple solutions around what you can do, and that's going to be Richard who's going to cover that, and then we'll do a little wrap up and a little quick Q&A for anybody that has questions around that. So I'll get started. I'll get the quick little conversation around what is the basic issue. Windows 7 which is a huge percent of all of our customers' desktop experience, at least at some point in their business, especially for the last 5 years or so. It has been a very popular operating system. It is end of life from Microsoft. And this is, you can Google, I put this up on the screen just so you can kind of go ahead and if you don't believe me, I'm hurt, but it's okay. Just Google Windows 7 end of life, and you can click through and read that. Microsoft is basically sunsetting this product, and in January 14 of 2020 is ending primary support for it. Now, there's a lot of different conversations around what are my options. That's what we're here for today. Some options are you can actually pay Microsoft for the right to get more patches for it for the next year, but they're dropping that, and it's just a real mess, that program. But basically all the free patches that we get these days for when they discover security issues or performance issues or compatibility issues with Windows 7, those free patches are going away after January 14, 2020. The next up issue that's tightly related is Windows Server 2008 and Server 2008 R2. That's a variation of it. It was kind of like the second release of it, will end on the same day. And they, for business customers that bought it a couple different ways, they are allowing for Windows 2008 to get a few, to get some of the critical patches for a little bit after that. But for the majority of folks, Windows 7 and Windows 2008 are not going to be patched after January 14, 2020. And in my math, that's 2.5 months. We have November, December, and half of January. That's 2.5 months where the timeline to deal with this is relevant. Now, why do we care? And I'll be super brief. From a techie perspective, what the security issue is or whatever, why do we care with if Windows 2008 and Windows 7 are out of support from Microsoft? Well, from a techie perspective, ransomware is your biggest issue. When Windows XP got expired, and Microsoft told everybody for a long time that Windows XP was not going to be supported anymore, shortly thereafter, when Windows XP stopped getting patches, a security vulnerability in a fully patched Windows XP desktop was discovered, and millions of computers around the world got hit with a couple different variations of this one virus that basically encrypted the desktop, held them for ransom, and shut down hospitals, school systems, manufacturing organizations, government offices, just organizations around the world. And there's no fix for it because a lot of the basic holes and patches that we have patches for now, or holes in performance and security issues, there's just no fix for them if the manufacturer isn't willing to do that. So from a simple primary, the issue is Windows 7 and 2008 are getting dropped from Microsoft support in about 2.5 months, and after that you really have a real security, not to mention other possible issues. I'm going to throw it over to you, John. Would you mind telling, from your perspective, what your thoughts are?
Sure. Thanks, Henry. I'm going to pick on you for just a second. Let's say you want to buy a $5 million life insurance policy, and in order to qualify for that policy, you checked all the boxes that say you don't smoke, you don't do extreme sports, and
nope.
But forget that form, right? And let's say you join a cigar club and start burning through a couple boxes of Cohibas a week, and then one of your new cigar buddies, they introduce you to the exhilarating sport of nighttime motorcycle racing on streets. And so all of a sudden your Facebook profile is a lot more interesting, but if you're unlucky enough to get esophageal cancer or you paint Main Street with bike and body parts, I don't think your insurance company is going to be that excited to pay out. They might balk at the idea of paying out. So we all know it's not enough to simply purchase a policy. The underwriters expect that you do your part to mitigate those risks. So if you have an accident, you really can't expect your insurance company to cover you if you were negligent in doing your part. And it's the same thing for your business cyber policy. To get that coverage, most of our clients, I'm guessing you had to check a box. It states something like that you agree that you insure that all operating systems and third-party software patches are installed on desktops and servers within X days of their release. There's some variation on what the policies look like, but most cyber policies are going to have similar language. I believe Henry's throwing up an example there of what some of that language looks like. Basically, if you have an old operating system such as Windows 7 or 2008, the bad news is what Henry shared with you. Microsoft is no longer going to be supporting those legacy OSs. That means security patches no longer available. So let's say you check that box that says that you ensure that all your operating systems on your workstations and servers are patched. But then you neglect to do your part on basic security precautions, such as having an operating system that is supported by the manufacturer with security patches. If you check the box but you don't do it, you can't expect your cyber policy to help you if your business becomes crippled with ransomware or malware.
All right.
Henry, you all know Henry. We're your technology business partner, and we're held to a high standard for our cyber policy, except for we have to check a lot more boxes, and we have to provide verification that our clients meet specific minimum security standards. And if we can't attest that a client meets those standards, our policy underwriter gives us very few options. Either, number one, we can have our client give us a signed waiver of liability that acknowledges that turnkey recommended best practices, but the client declined and accepts all risks. Or the only other option we have is to be extremely selective in what kind of services, if any, we can provide that client. So, going back to the example of your $5 million life insurance policy, you could, I guess, delete your Facebook and Instagram accounts and to try to hide from your life insurance policy that you do free diving with sharks. But you can't hide your Windows 7 machines, and they can certainly bite you worse than that. And
you bet.
From the business perspective, the way we look at it is, look, the good news is that sometimes the biggest threats in your SWOT analysis are the easiest to mitigate. And upgrading your OS, that's low-hanging fruit, and it's going to quickly move the issue from the threat quadrant to the strength quadrant, where you can also enjoy some of the advanced productivity features and other things that are going to give you a strong ROI.
All right. Well, thank you, Johnny. Thank you very much. It's like, if you have a cyber policy and you have agreed to it, and you still have Windows 7 machines, majority of y'all will be basically lying about your cyber liability policy or your cyber breach policy at a station come January 15, if you still have machines that are not patchable. And that's, of course, in our understanding. So check with your insurance folks. But that's every policy we've looked at thus far, and customers send us files on to hey, are we doing X, Y, and Z? That's how they're written. All right, so I'm going to move off of that, and let me bring up Richard. Richard, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Hot diggity. All right, I'm going to throw up your notes on the screen, and tell us from your perspective, because you're out there quoting and helping customers on a day-to-day basis, kind of thinking through what they can do. Tell me what the solution is. What do you see in the simple ways?
Well, after all that bad news you just laid out, fortunately I have some good news for everybody. We have options for upgrades to resolve the solution on this problem. On on the screen right now, we've got system requirements. These are minimum requirements recommended by Microsoft. Keep in mind, again, I want to emphasize minimum requirements. We recommend a little bit better system than what they're mentioning here to get the performance with Windows 10. But as far as options, that'll be the second page. There's 3 different options or routes that we can go to get you upgraded to Windows 10 Pro. If you have a Lenovo that you possibly have purchased from Turnkey, and it's probably 2 to 3 years old, you may have what's called internal rights to upgrade your workstation to Windows 10. And what that means is the workstation may have shipped with Windows 10 internally already. At that point, if we do have internal upgrade rights, it's just a matter of getting a technician to perform it and upgrade the workstation to Windows 10. So the only cost would be just the labor for the technician to perform it. Second option is we don't have internal upgrade rights. We'd need to purchase software. So that would be a Windows 10 operating system upgrade. That retails about $187. And then from there, we just need the labor for a technician to actually install that software and upgrade the workstation for us. Then, of course, the last option is to purchase a new workstation. I put 2 examples up here. These are our recommended minimum, what we recommend for a workstation, and they start at an i5 processor with 8 gigs of memory and a 256 SSD or hard drive, if you want to call it. And again, these are retail prices. Of course, you guys aren't going to pay this. We're going to get you better prices than this. I'm just using this for the example. And those retail at about $900. And from there, you just need, again, labor for a technician to migrate any data from a pre-existing workstation to the new workstation, get it configured and set up for you in your environment. Also listed an i7 with the same specs other than the processor, and those retail right at about $1,000. Again, labor to get it installed, set up, and configured for you in your environment.
Richard, are we seeing like retail? Are we seeing prices better than retail? And is that including labor? I mean, this is just a question I'm seeing somebody ask.
Oh, absolutely. Some of the i5s in quantity I've got down as low as between $550 to $600 a piece. That'll get us a warranty. i5, 8 gig with a 256 SSD on it. From there, we just need labor. So you could say installed roughly around $1,000.
Okay. All right. And the quality of computers that you could get at like Bass, not Bass Pro. Good gracious, those are horrible. Best Buy or Office Depot. Is it possible to get a really good business computer? And what if somebody's looking at like Black Friday deals and they want to, they're really tempted to get that computer? Could they ask you for like, hey, is this one good or bad?
The best thing that I can recommend is shoot me an email, tell me what you need, what you found, what you're looking for. What's on the shelf at Best Buy is called a consumer grade product. That is not a business grade product. It certainly isn't going to last as long as a business grade workstation. Those come from Lenovo with a 3-year warranty. They back their product. Anything you see on the shelf at Best Buy is only going to carry a 1 year at best. Okay. Most lately, I've seen them where they're only a 6-month warranty on them. But yeah, those are consumer grade. If you want a business grade, that would have to be ordered. It's not going to be sitting on the shelf.
All right. Okay. All right. Okay, so we've got options. It may be that you could get it with no software purchase and just a little labor. If your computer didn't come with it, that's $187 is what Windows Pro kind of retails for, and a little labor. Or if you're looking at, it doesn't make sense to build out a new, to buy a new computer or just fix what you got. These are kind of ballparks of what you can expect to spend on a great business class machine that turnkey would typically expect to run a good 60 months, like a good 5 years run for a computer is what we kind of say. This is the class of computer that you need to start with. Is something that we would expect to still be pretty good for another 5 years after you purchase it. So anyway, thank y'all, Richard and Johnny, for bringing your questions and your points and your ideas to that. So, folks, I just want to kind of wrap up by saying that it is very important that you look at this. Hopefully everybody that's on the webinar or that's on the call got the Warranty Master report. I sent you a list just a little bit before this. Check your email of all the computers that we're aware of in your environment and how old they are, when their manufacturer's warranty expired, when they were purchased, and what operating system they're running. So you can see exactly what your older computers are, and it really is not from just an operational perspective and just how fast your computers are or whatever, but just from a security and cyber liability and insurance perspective. It is very important that we get Windows 7 out of your environment and Windows 2008 in the next few months. And Richard, I'll throw this one last one to you. If somebody says they place an order for either a software upgrade or just they say, let's put in a ticket to get this new computer or this really old computer updated to Windows 10, or they buy a new computer, can we do all those on January 13 next year?
That's going to be kind of hard.
Yeah, exactly. Guys, everybody, we have 2.5 months to plan this out. Let's please try to do this in a timely, kind of well thought out manner, so that we cause no or very minimal interruption to your employees and your business, and we want to do this in a way that's very simple. So with that, I will open up the floor. If anybody has any additional questions, sorry, I was throwing in the questions that I got across the screen as we went. But does anybody else have any other questions before we go ahead and close the line on this and shut down today's conversation? If anybody's got any questions, you can either use the raise your hand function on Zoom, or you can type in a question, and I think all the panelists will see it. Let's see. Couple folks are saying they're gonna be planning on. They've got plans to get rid of everything by December. That's awesome. Thank you so very much. That's great. That helps us. So that's by getting the risks out of your environment. All right. Well, everybody, we're going to go ahead and call this a wrap. I really appreciate your time. John and Richard, I so appreciate y'all joining me and kind of bringing your perspectives to this conversation. And as always, please do bring all your questions to us. Feel free to give us a holler after this if you do have any questions. If you have questions after this, or you forgot to think of something, or forgot to bring something up now, give us a holler at 225-751-4444, and we appreciate it. Y'all have a great Halloween. Be safe and don't eat too much candy, and call us with any questions. Thank y'all very much, and have a great day.